Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Kashif Kamran, SBL expert tutor with spotlight on common issues in SBL exam. Despite SBL having a very good passing rate, there are still some underlying issues which the student needs to understand before they're preparing for any of their upcoming SBL exams. Let's open up our discussion and let's start to focus on the common issues. The first and the foremost, the core problem, lack of application. Now, I am a tutor taking the AA, AAA, and SBL paper. All three are theoretical paper. And this is the biggest problem in a theoretical paper, lack of application. Student run after rote learning, memorization, and they don't develop the skill to apply the knowledge to a given scenario on the day of exam. Let's see what exactly is the meaning of lack of application as the core problem. Repeating theory is not enough. An SBL has lots of theory, models, and the student just memorize those models, and they're of no relevance if you're not relating them or you're not connecting them with a case study given to you on the day of exam. The SBL exam is not a knowledge test. Remember that. Simply throwing up the knowledge or simply flooding up your answer with knowledge or theoretical models is of no relevance and will help you score very low marks in SBL, because what the examining team or what the marker is looking for in your answer is the application, is the connectivity of the information given to you in the exhibits or in the pre-scene with the relevant requirement which has been asked for. So if you just forcefully apply a model or you just explain a model with no application, no linkage to a scenario, that's very frustrating for the marking team. The cut and paste trap. Avoid copying large chunk of text from the pre-seen information or the exhibits which are given to you on the day of exam, because marks are awarded for analysis, not for restating information. I've seen so many students, even when I'm checking the mock exams or the student assignments on the past paper, they simply copy paste and they don't do any effort to develop it, to develop a point. They think that alone a copy paste would fetch marks. That's not the case. If you copy paste something for you to recall something, for you to remember something when you're writing the answer, that's a good technique in a computer-based exam. But you can't just leave copy paste alone without doing any effort to analyze it, to develop it into a proper explanation in accordance with the task or the expectation of the task you are answering. The solution to this lack of application. Think like a consultant. Most of the time in an SBL paper, you are a consultant. You're giving advice to the board of directors, to the chief executive officer. Think like a consultant. Use the provided information, the pre-scene, and the exam exhibits on the day of exam to build up your analysis. Apply your technical knowledge to the specific context of the case study. Look at these two very important words. Number one is to apply your technical knowledge to the specific context of the case study. And number two is that use the information which is given to you in the pre-scene and the exhibits on the day of exam to build up your analysis. You need to develop that analysis skill. You need to develop that evaluation skill. You need to develop up a skill of ensuring that you take the material from the exhibits and illustrate that in your answer by bringing your knowledge. But it's not just it's not just you throw up your knowledge in the answer. It's just about modifying your knowledge. It's just about adapting your knowledge as per the task requirement. So this is a core problem. I hope you will understand it and do better. Moving on to the next problem. Exam technique and professionalism. Answering the wrong question. Many candidates fail because they answer the question they wanted to be asked, not the one that was actually set. Read the requirement carefully. I've seen so many candidates when they look at a task, and suppose in a task they find the word integrated reporting. They will not even bother about reading what the question is asking about integrated reporting. The moment they see the word integrated reporting, they will just start to write the headings of the six capitals, and they start to write the answer around six capital, even though the question is not asking for the six capitals. If you would have read the question, probably the question would be asking what are benefits of integrated reporting, or what are benefits of adopting the integrated reporting by the organization, because the company is adopting the integrated reporting for the first time. But the students are very habitual of the moment they see a word, and they recall that word from any model or any theory they have done in their preparation towards SBL. The moment they see integrated reporting, they think that the question will always be on six capitals. The question could be on any other aspect of integrated reporting. So please do read the requirement in full. So this is the biggest problem with the student, that they fail because they answer the question they wanted to answer, rather than they're answering the question which the examining team has said, because they're not reading the requirement well. So that's number one issue when it comes to exam technique and professionalism. Number two, incorrect format and tone. Failure to use the requested format, example report, email, presentation slides, and the tone, example formal, objective. You're writing to the board of director, you're writing to the chief executive officer, you are a consultant. Your tone has to be very formal and objective. You need to be unbiased. You need to give your independent views. If there is a pros, or if there is a con, if there is an advantage, there is a disadvantage, you need to speak of both, because you're doing an evaluation, you're doing an analysis. So you cannot just keep things on one side. You need to speak on both sides. If there is an issue, speak of the issue. If there is a drawback, speak of the drawback. If there is a challenge, speak of the challenge. If there is an advantage, speak of the advantage. Keep your arguments objective. Can result in a loss of professional skill marks. So if you're not toning the answer properly, and you're not presenting the answer in the format requested, you're losing easy professional skill marks, and you're not creating a good impression in front of your marker. The solution of precision and professionalism. If you want to overcome this problem, you need to be precise and you need to demonstrate professionalism. But how? For every task, identify your role, the audience to your writing, and the required format very carefully. Ensure your tone and structure are appropriate for the communication. So read the requirement carefully, know who you are, to whom you're writing, what is the format required. Ensure that your tone is formal. You are objectively analyzing the information given. You are critically evaluating the information given with all the pros and cons, and ensure that your structure of communication is adequate. Number third problem, strategic thinking and analysis. Superficial evaluation. Some candidates describe facts from the case study rather than analyzing their implication or evaluating their impact on the business. Generic points are rarely awarded credit. First of all, we know this is a rule of thumb in SBL, that there is no space for generic writing. There is no space for hypothetical assumptions. You need to be very particular about taking information from the pre-scene or the exhibits on the day of exam in accordance with the requirement and in accordance with the objective of the requirement, what the requirement is asking you to do. Then you need to analyze it. Then you need to evaluate it. You need to think about the possible implications for the business, the possible disadvantages for the business, the possible challenges for the business. You need to be critical, because every information needs to have a connection with the business, needs to have a connection with what will be the impact on the business. If the organization is thinking about introducing an integrated reporting, what will be the benefits of the introducing of integrated reporting for the organization, not in journal. Even if you're writing the benefits, of data analytics. You're not writing journal benefits of data analytics, you're writing the benefits to the organization. How will the introduction of data analytics help the organization? So you cannot just bring the bookish benefits or bookish advantages. You have to relate them to the organization if you want to build up a really good answer. So analyzing the implication and analyzing the impact on the business, that is what the marketing team is looking for. So please do ensure that there are no superficial evaluations. You're doing evaluation which are more around the case study and case information. Ignoring stakeholder. We know stakeholder is such an important topic in SBL, and you cannot just expect a standalone question on stakeholder. Stakeholder perhaps could be there in every answer of yours because everything is relatable to the stakeholder. You need to ensure your connection with stakeholders when you're building up the answer. Failing to consider the different stakeholders involved, example, shareholders, customers, or employees, leads to an incomplete and unapplied answer. Stakeholder is a central part of SPL, right? Whatever you think, whatever you decide, whatever you do as a business, it has a connection with stakeholder. Some might be happy, some might be satisfied, some might be unsatisfied. So whatever you're writing, think about its implication to stakeholder, not just waiting for the examiner to tell you that you have to write the impact on stakeholder. That's a very specific question. Even the question is not specifically asking for stakeholders, you should still think about the implications or the impact on stakeholders in relation to the decision the organization is taking. So stakeholder is a central like something central to the SPL paper. What is the solution to the strategic thinking and analysis? What is the solution to the superficial evaluation and ignoring stakeholder? Dig deeper, go into the case study, involve yourself into the case study and extract information and then just analyze it and evaluate in the best possible manner. For every point you make, ask, why does this matter? Why it is an important point to the organization? Why this point matter to the business? So every point you're writing, ask a question to yourself. Why this matter? Why does this matter to this organization in the given scenario? And what does this mean for the company? So if you're writing any point, ask these two questions to yourself. Why does this matter? Why am I writing this point? Why is it so important to the given organization? Or what does this mean to the given organization? What value, what benefit, what implication, what impact the given organization will get? So demonstrate commercial awareness in every task. This is commercial acumen. This is commercial awareness. Why does this matter? What does this mean for my business, for my company? So if you think about these two questions and you try to answer these two questions, you're demonstrating sound commercial acumen in your answer. Next reason for failing, the time crunch. We know we have 1.95 minutes per mark in SPL because it's 195 minutes paper and you have 100 marks. So that's a simple mathematics. You have 1.95 minutes per mark. So you look at the task and you look at the marks, you multiply that by 1.95. So you know the total time you have for the task. Yes, definitely of the total time. My rule of thumb says 1/4 of that total time is for reading and planning because that plays a crucial part if you want to really demonstrate a sound evaluation and analysis. And 3/4 of the time is to write a good answer. Let's see what are problems with time crunch in SPL. Over answering questions, spending too much time on a single question, especially when you feel confident. That's true, is a major cause of failure. Suppose task one came from a topic you were well prepared and you understand the task one, and you will just start to write and write and write because you're so confident on it. You forget that there are other tasks in the paper which you need to address. And definitely when you run out of time and you come in time pressure, you're compromising the quality of other tasks. Every task has a stipulated time. Look at the marks. If it is a 30 marks task, multiply that by 1.95. You will get the total time. That's the total time you're spending on that task, which includes reading and planning and writing. So spending too much on something you know. The extra points would compensate for the lost marks on other tasks. If you're writing extra, you're writing too much on one task you know well, you're compromising the opportunities in the other task. And when you compromise the opportunities in other tasks, you are increasing the risk of failing. Neglecting the pre-scene. Failing to thoroughly analyze the pre-scene before you enter the exam hall will waste a lot of time, because if you've not studied the pre-scene well, because pre-scene comes 14 days before your actual exam, and you know all the tutors globally do a pre-scene debrief normally 7 to 8 days before the exam to make you familiarize with the pre-scene. Now, if you have less familiarity with pre-scene, or you have not given a good time to pre-scene, uh, on the day of exam, you will be wasting time going back again to pre-scene, reading the pre-scene, which is a waste of time. Please ensure that on the day of exam, you should be so much familiar with the pre-scene that you're not even spending a single minute on pre-scene on the day of exam. You're not even thinking about opening the pre-scene on the day of exam. You should be so well versed with pre-scene. You should just focus on the specific exhibits, the 4 specific exhibits which are given to you on the day of exam. So, but if you go and refer pre-scene again and again on the day of exam, you are just wasting your time and you're calling yourself into a time crunch. Solution to the time crunch: plan, prioritize, and practice. You know, planning is so important. Students normally don't focus on 1/4 of the time being reading and planning. And in a paper like Strategic Business Leader, where you have to read a lot, understand a lot, planning plays a crucial part. If you just start writing things up without a careful planning in SBL, you might be putting up an answer which is very inferior and not an impressive answer for the marker. Definitely prioritizing in practice is important. You have to do sufficient amount of practice of the past papers, the more recent past papers, if you want to get through successfully from SBL. Stick to a time plan based on marks allocated. I just mentioned that 1.95 minutes per mark. So stick to a time plan based on the marks allocated. Prioritize your most confident points first. So if you're writing the benefits of data analytics or benefits of integrated reporting or thinking, try to write those benefits where you're more confident. Try to prioritize those benefits where you think I can write better, and practice under time conditions when you're practicing at home. So when you're practicing before the exam, ensure that you're doing a time-based practice of at least 6 to 7 recent exams. So you don't come under a time crunch in your real exam. Please ensure you write the points which you know well. Prioritize your more confident points before you start to write any weaker points. And please ensure you allocate a stipulated time to each task. Just let's wrap up the issues surrounding the SBL paper, which we have covered in this presentation. Recap and final tips. Think application, definitely. We had a word on that. SBL is a paper which you will never pass just by rote learning knowledge, just by reproducing knowledge. It's a paper which will be passed only when you do the application, only when you adapt and modify your knowledge in the given context. So any student who knows what adaptation means, any student who knows how to sync the theoretical context with the information given in the exhibit, you will pass. Read carefully. We know that is important because you need to understand the task. You need to understand what the task is demanding from you. What is the objective of the task? What is the purpose of the task? Rather than answering the question you wish to answer, just read the requirement carefully for the format in which to answer, who you are, to whom you need to write, and what you need to write. These are all important things when you're reading carefully. Be professional. demonstrate commercial awareness. I just mentioned in my presentation that you need to ask the question that why this matter is important to the organization. What's the benefit of this matter to the organization? What is the likely impact on the stakeholders of the matter given in the requirement? You need to think broadly, holistically around the given organization because you have entered the exam hall with the familiarity with the organization, with the familiarity with the industry, because you've gone through the pre-scene. So by the time you enter the exam hall, you already have a commercial awareness. You already have a commercial acumen with you because you have lots of knowledge of the business, a lot of knowledge of the industry. Thinking in the exam, uh, why this point is important to the business, perhaps is a more easier task if you keep practicing that. Time is critical. Don't get stuck on one question. Move on when the time is up. This is important because you have opportunities in the paper. You cannot just compromise opportunities at the expense of one question. And finally, practice, practice, practice. SBL is a paper which will only be passed if you have done sufficient amount of practice of the past papers. So please ensure you practice past papers in priority from September 23 onwards, because from September 23 onwards, the time management of the paper was changed to 195 minutes instead of 240 minutes. The number of exhibits went down to 4, the number of tasks went down to 3. We got a pre-scene from September 23. So your priority should be to practice papers from September 23 onwards at the first go before you move to any paper uh, before September 23, which is the 4 hours paper. Practice, practice, practice. That's the only way you will be successful in SBL. I hope this discussion and the spotlight on common issues in SBL will help you a long way as you prepare yourself for any of the upcoming exams for SBL. I wish you all the very best of luck. Your tutor Kashif Kamran signing off.